Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Peach State Payments, Chiro HD, Softwave, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting the sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 716 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Jake Ackerman. And if you want to hear our conversations about keeping your money and reducing your tax liability, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Today I have Jake Ackerman on with me. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about himself after I give the introduction. He is episode 716 of our podcast. We've been doing this thing for 7.5 years. We were born on the 4th of July. If you like this show, please share it. If you know a chiropractic student out there that needs some guidance on financial security, share the show with them. If they're not getting philosophy from their colleges, is why I believe our show is so valuable, please share the show with them also. But we're going to talk about keeping your money. Who wants to keep their money? Show of hands out there. Raise your hands. I bet everybody listening to this wants to keep their money. But I bet you don't know this, that you need to reduce your tax liability. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. And I bet you don't have clarity on how to plan for your future. And we're going to talk about that today also. And then we're going to leverage into topics of how to build your business and learn growth strategies and how to expand your asset base with tax efficiency. Some of these things aren't probably as clear to you as keeping your own money. So we're going to talk about that one first. But before we get into Jake's story about how he got to where he is today helping chiropractors, I'm going to tell you our big why. Well, over here at Chiro Hustle, we believe in freedom of speech. We believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. I know what it's like to see people that are influencers be shadow banned and how that has an impact on their businesses. So we would never censor you. And that's one of the things I love about this podcast is we definitely believe in freedom of speech. And medical freedom and family health freedom, like I said, they're not the same things. But if you're curious about where to go find this, go reach out to a chiropractor and get the guide to help you build a healthy family. If you're looking to build financial health, reach out to Jake. I'll drop his information during the show and after the show of how you can reach out to him for his services. Philosophically speaking, we do protect the sacred trust. I know I shouldn't have to say that, but they're removing that out of the colleges. So once again, share the show with a new graduate or a chiropractic student. And we support subluxation-based chiropractic. We believe in innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual, which creates an educated intelligence. And with that, this is episode 716 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Jake Ackerman, welcome to the show.
James, really appreciate you having me. Excited to be on the show.
So let's talk about it, man. Financial literacy. How did you get to the point where you're helping people? And tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, my philosophy, and then I'll get into the background and kind of how we got here. And I want to preface this and start with this because this is my objective for our clientele is to help them pay as close to zero in taxes legally and ethically as possible. And we've sought this mission. I've been on this mission now with my firm for the past 5 years. Actually, we got started as just kind of your traditional financial advisors, managing money. I was a professional trader at one time. So finding swing trades, opportunities in futures, Forex, you name it, we would go and look for the opportunities. And, making money is great. We've had absolutely fantastic years. But I sat in with my clients and their CPA appointments, their accounting, their tax professional appointments, and I'm looking at it and I realize they're happy with making money, but they're losing so much of that money to paying Uncle Sam. And in these appointments, I'm listening to the CPA's discussion with them, or the accountant's discussion, and they're not really making any recommendations. I'm a financial advisor who my specialty at the time was not taxes. I didn't really, I mean, I understood the basic knowledge. I was probably far more advanced than your typical taxpayer. However, there's 70,000 pages of the IRS tax law or tax code. It takes many, many years and a constant evolution of your knowledge to be able to fundamentally understand how everything operates. And then once you fundamentally understand, you're just taking the language and the code and the word, and you're using it to build your story, to build and engineer the tax saving investment that you're working on. So that's really making them money, fantastic, but helping them keep it was just as an important role. So knowing that, I knew I needed to specialize, and I knew I wasn't going to learn it from other financial advisors. I'm not going to learn it from mentors. So I need to really get educated, take classes, learn everything online that I possibly can, learn and sit in every single appointment that I possibly can with other tax professionals. And what you find is, it's interesting, the CPAs are kind of like attorneys, where they don't all agree on certain aspects of it. Some say you can do that, some say you can't do that. And it's all about backing up your thesis and your story and what you're trying to implement to facilitate that tax saving or that strategy. So, I mean, simple as that. And once I knew, when we identified what we need to do for our clientele, for like chiro businesses or the chiro business that have ancillary other practices along their chiro business, we needed to specialize in this tax savings. So I started bringing on teams of different CPAs, strategic partners that were CPAs that had 20, 30, 40 years of experience, that may not necessarily have the same talents as I do, may not necessarily be an out-of-box thinker like some of my team members are, but have the knowledge that we can partner with and learn, and then engineer it with being creative. And you don't have to break the law to be creative. You just have to follow the text. And before you do something, you pre-plan it, preemptively do it, and then everything's good. It's kosher. You just need to have the evidence and the documentation to back up the strategy that you're trying to accomplish.
Well, I think that there's a lot of congruency with what you're doing when it comes to helping small businesses specifically, and that being chiropractic is you get a chance to go in there and see how they're functioning financially, which is really sometimes a scary place for people. You know, a lot of times people want to hide from things that they don't understand. And that's why they become in financial ruin, and they don't become successful because they don't understand some of these things that you're able to help with. And I believe one of the strong plays I've seen just by getting to know you is you help with team building, not only internally, but externally. You help connect people and build better processes and systems through your network, which I think is super valuable. So, a lot of kudos to you for actually going after what you feel is where you should be doing things and learning how to do it more effectively. And let's talk about that. Like, how are you helping chiropractic practices? Because I know a lot of people that come here. You said, who is my target audience? And I said, oh, this chiropractic market. That's who listens to our stuff. So what message do you have to chiropractors?
The message to chiropractors, you can accomplish the growth of your business and tax savings. You just got to be preemptively planned. And what I found is a lot of chiros work with tax professionals. A ton of them do. They'll have a CPA. They'll have some kind of accountant that they can rely on. However, most of them think that they have everything taken care of when they have that person that's in that relationship. However, what you come to find out is there's no preemptive planning. They all they're doing for them is compliance and reporting work. They're just doing the preparation work. They may give them a couple ideas that they can utilize. Maybe you start a 401k. Here's your compensation numbers that you have to reduce some of that FICA tax or self-employment tax, depending on how the business is set up. But if they're only giving you bits and pieces of advice, they're leaving tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions on the table, depending on how big the practice is, because they didn't engineer preemptively. And the CPA doesn't necessarily know what your liquidity needs are. They don't know what other investments that you have. They don't know your family needs of what do your family need? What is your business objective this year, next year, 3 years, 5, 10 years down the road? Because your path that you're going down, first off, it needs to be able to mold a little bit because people change and hey, some clients next week, hey, I want to buy a house. We got baby number 3 on the way and we're going to need an upgrade. Well, congratulations. That's fantastic. Okay. That's just what we need to do accordingly. However, the big picture down the road, 5, 7 years is very important. Do I want to sell this business? Do I want to have pass it on to my legacy? Do I want my children to take it over? Do I want maybe the option to do both? Well, that sets you up through a different course depending on what your longer term objective is. Now, again, the CPA not necessarily going to be thinking about or knowing that. They're just going to give you a few bits and pieces of tax mitigation strategies that you can do. What we do for our Chiro clients is we're thinking about much longer term, really understanding their business of what they need. And of course, we do have CPAs that we work with that are on our team, and identifying what they need to accomplish, what their liquidity needs are. We can put a preemptive plan in place, identify all the tax savings preemptively before they even take place. So, for example, my team and I put together a tax plan proposal for a private practice just yesterday. We do these obviously on a daily basis frequently. And we're presenting the plan to this person. And what it looks like is, hey, doc, if you follow our plan, we'll save you an extra $120,000 for tax year 2025. All you need to do is follow X step. If anything changes 3 months down the road, hey, you need more liquidity. You want to add an additional element to your practice. You want to add purchase the unit next door. All you got to do is let us know, and we're going to adjust the plan accordingly. But if you follow these steps of what we're going to preemptively do for you, you're going to save $120,000. All you need to do is follow this. And guess what? I know you're a very busy doctor. You're taking care of your family, all of your patients, you're monitoring your staff. My team's job is to make sure that you implement these. So we're going to be talking with you on a weekly basis up front, so that your foundational steps are all aligned, and we're doing what needs to be done right off the bat. And then we're following with you all throughout the year to make sure every one of these objectives are completed by you and your team, so we can realize the savings that we set out to in the first place. And if we need to make the adjustment, hey, Jake, we're thinking about doing this instead. Fantastic. Here's what the numbers look like if we do go down this route. And I can tell you about this secondary thing that they're thinking about doing. There's probably multiple ways to do it. So, for example, if they're purchasing the unit next door, should I pay cash for it? Should I finance some of that? How much should I put down? These are all questions that put major roadblocks in front of our docs, that they get stuck in this decision that they shouldn't be thinking about more than a couple minutes. Talk to us. We'll tell you the numbers, and then now you can make a really informed decision based on the numbers. Doesn't necessarily need emotional decision. This can take away a lot of the emotion. This can take away the roadblock. This can give them the data and the numbers they need to make a quick decision so they can move on to the next task. So that's what we're doing for our clients, helping them make important decisions, giving them the numbers they need to make that decision, in helping them to do it quickly and then implement it in all the rest of our strategies. And then also be aware of any tax laws that changes, any court cases that come through and change what we think. And that's, other than that, James, that's typically what we do for our doctor, our chiro clients.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Peach State Payments, Chiro HD, Softwave, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, the Chiro Speaking Company, Pure Chiro Notes, 5-Star Forge, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting the sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle. Yeah, you know, as you're explaining that, if I package that into a simple strategy for people to understand, I would say how to live the life of your dreams and eat steak 5 days a week and not work more. And I think that that's important. Or how to drive the car of your dreams or live in the home of your dreams, and eat steak 5 days a week and not work more. And I think that people are already doing the work necessary within a chiropractic practice and building up the clinics. That the reason that they don't have the life of their dreams is because a lot of their income goes towards not understanding tax strategy. And I do believe that, just from a chiropractic analogy, that if more people knew about chiropractic, they wouldn't have the need for sick care. And I do believe that if people understood how to have financial literacy, they would have a whole different perspective on how they took care of them and their families and their futures. So I think what you're offering to people is a really important thing when it comes to getting people to keep their money and understanding tax liabilities and planning for their futures. And I feel like you've assembled a great network of people that are helping support you with this mission and vision. And like you said, you're doing this type of work on a daily basis. So I think it's really cool. I guess as you were telling me these things, I'm like, I want to hear a miracle story. I want to hear like how you've like worked with somebody and you've seen them go from like on the edge of closing their doors to like now they have this thriving life where they're actually keeping money and having the life of their dreams. Do you have any cases like that you could share with me?
Got a great one top of mind that I can think of right now. Pennsylvania client. Pennsylvania's got some interesting tax. They're a unique state. They're kind of difficult to work with, but anyways, Pennsylvania client, husband, wife, they are in their late 50s, and they have been such nice people too. I love working with them. They're great. They're middle-aged children. And when I say middle-aged, like teenagers, 15, 16 years old. So they have really young kids for their age. They had kids late in their life. Actually, I think the wife might be in her early 50s. So the husband's a little bit on the older side. But again, they had kids late in their lives, but they still have some young kids, and they're doing what they can to grow their business. Well, they've been stuck in their. So I guess this isn't on a brink story, but it's just one that's at top of mind that I've been working on pretty recently that I could think about. Anyways, they've been stuck in the same place for the last 6 years. I mean, experienced no growth, hustling their butts off. I mean, they're working 60 plus hours a week. Their top line revenue is 510,000. Their bottom line revenue is 500,000. They got, minimal margins. How do you grow with that kind of margins? It's just not possible. You have to do things. You have to start doing things to increase those margins. $10,000 with $510,000 revenue is just not good. So we started off actually with working with them in a much different capacity. So we want to save them as much money as we can on their taxes. We want them strategically acquire assets and grow their wealth. However, where are we going to save them? They only have $10,000 in taxable income. So first, we needed to send a good team in there. One of my great partners, MedPro Dojo, that it was an example of a team that you could send in there. But we sent a team in there to adjust their processes, handle their billing system, and help educate their staff and put together a blueprint so their staff can follow in order to bill correctly, not leave any dollars on the table. And then also a team to come in there and add some ancillary practices that would enhance what they're already doing. I mean, they had these clientele coming in. Why not have some other forms of revenue stream that you can add on there? Why not have another provider in there that you're paying a salary to that can help with some of the flow, so the main chiro is not running around seeing 100 patients a day, losing their mind and not being able to see any of their family or go to any of their kids' games or go to their high school events because they're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. It's just not possible. So starting with enhancing their business practices, their systems, we watched over, the first year slow because they got to change a lot of things, but year 2, year 3, they just started blowing up. Now their bottom line is $250,000 after a couple of years. Now we are working with them hand in hand, not only to help enhance the ancillary practices, the systems that they do, the right staff that they have now. Now it's to get into and help them keep their assets. Now we put together the tax mitigation strategies, so they're not paying 30% of that $250,000 from state and federal taxes. And now they're well over $1 million in revenue. Their bottom line is as small and as thin as we can, not because they have no bottom line anymore. It's because we're strategically making their bottom line as low as they can, because we're keeping dollars in the business, so they're not going to Uncle Sam unnecessarily. So they're not overpaying. They're keeping the dollars, and they're using it again strategically. Acquisition for hiring new staff, expanding their business, bringing on more products and services in the business, and that takes capital to do it. So now they're just a machine where they were stuck in place for about 5-6 years and just couldn't get over that hurdle. So they took the right steps working with us at first. We introduced them to these strategic partnerships to enhance, and now they're enhancing, they're saving money on their taxes, and now they have an asset base that they otherwise wouldn't have. So I think that's a great success story. And their kids are I think one of them is now actually working for the practice. The other one's getting ready to go to college to hopefully take over the family business in some capacity. So whereas their kids before had no interest. So it's been a win for the family. Family knows what they're doing. Their happiness has went up. They're keeping more money. They're taking more vacations, and they're keeping more of their hard-earned dollars.
I think all that's super valuable for people to hear, because I believe that people don't understand the financial world well, and they don't understand like money math. And I believe that when people start understanding the financial world better with guidance, money math becomes more applicable to how they do run their lifestyles and how they do find time to have freedom away from business and work. And they can start investing more into having a healthier family lifestyle. So I think all those things are really cool. Plus, I'm sure you can come in and see where like people just have like unorganized lives, and you can say, oh, wow, that's really happening. Well, this is what we could do to make that improve. And then you start seeing different elements of people's life, spiritually, physically, emotionally, relationally. All of the 7 areas of influence in people's life start improving when they don't have money stress. And I think that it's really cool to see that you are able to help people learn how to keep more of what they make. And that was like the big thing when I knew I was going to get you onto the show. I was like, I'm going to have this guy explain to people how to keep the money that they make. And I think that was a really great example to show how people can start coming from survival to thrival. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that are on the far end of the spectrum and they're confused. So when people come into your life, what does it look like when, they interact with you? Like, how do you get people to take action? How do you get people to work with you? And how long does it usually take before you start seeing a significant change in people's lives?
It's quick. You'll be blown away how quick these things can take place. And it's doesn't need to be super disruptive. So initially we referred from somebody that we usually do really good work with. That's probably 9 out of 10 of our business. When we have we do have a really good marketing department, but the referrals from other satisfied clients are majority of our business. Usually, so they usually come in with some kind of knowledge of, hey, you're working with my friend, working with my colleague, working with my associate, and they're happy. I don't really know what you're doing, but they're happy. So they're coming in usually not from a place of, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out with money right now. I don't even have time to read to my children. I'm so stressed. I can't think about anything else except for money. That's not most of our clientele. That is some of them. But most of them come in because they're making a lot of bottom line money, 250, a $500,000, million, 5 million, 10 million, whatever it is. And they look at their tax liability at the end of the year and they're disgusted. Like, oh my gosh, I have to do some things. I'm looking online. I can find things, cash balance pension plan, I have 401k, donor advised funds, captive insurance. You can read about them, but do I actually know how to properly implement them in the max capacity in the best way possible? The answer is usually no. They've heard of these things, but they don't really know how to implement. And all those things, for example, the cash balance pension plan is so complex. I mean, you got to have an actuary. You have to input census information that has to be accurate. You got to coordinate with your accounting team to make sure it gets done and it's reported properly. If not, getting hit with excise tax penalties, other tax penalties, incorrect error penalties in there. The liability can be excessive. And then some people already have those and they're blowing up their plan because they didn't get proper guidance. I had a doc the other day that overfunded his pension plan by like $3 million and now can't contribute to that plan for another 4 to 5 years because it was so badly set up and managed incorrectly. And so I have to tell this guy, like, hey doc, we have to rebuild this thing. We have to start, and we have to start now. And if we do everything right, we can start contributing to it maybe in a year or two. But if you don't do anything, you're looking at 5+ years. You're in California, you're getting killed. This is terrible. You're losing 50% of those dollars that you otherwise would have kept in your asset base. I know you were thinking about acquiring a building with your pension plan for $5-6 million, and you were going to make these contributions over it. Well, now that plan is kind of thrown into you just kicked that plan down the road. Sorry. So, anyways, I don't want to get down the road on a tangent of poor setup of the pension plans, but again, you're doing things right, and you know about how to not just knowing about them, you having access to the right information, to the right people and the expert team to get it done legally and ethically, and taking it to max capacity. And max capacity could be different from different people depending on their liquidity needs.
Yeah, I think it's all really cool to see how you can come into a seasoned practitioner's life and help course correct them. Now, let's take the far end of the spectrum. What advice would you give to a chiropractic student that's about to finish school to where that they don't have to deal with these same type of financial disasters as they start their practice and go forward?
Wow. Financial literacy is so important. Understanding the business aspect, not just the professional aspect. I mean, I think that goes with every profession, every business owner. I mean, even I think for myself, I'm an expert at what we do. However, we wouldn't be where we're at today. I would just be turning my wheels and we wouldn't experience the growth. I wouldn't be able to help as many businesses and practices as we've been able to help, without understanding business, understanding the systems, how to set up my business properly, how to compensate myself, how to make sure how to take care of my staff, how to give them the incentives to want to grow with me and not just treat them like another employee where all of a sudden my turnover rate just is awful and I'm constantly having to train people. So taking business courses and understanding businesses. So I think one of the important things that I was very lucky with early on in my career is I worked for a smaller broker dealer. I guess you'd say a medium-sized broker dealer. They had 400 advisors. I was one of 400, and I was in the process of taking my securities license to get my credentials to be able to manage money and be a financial advisor and investment advisor for clientele and prospect as such. I was in this process. They were supporting me, and I told them, like, hey, it'd be very helpful if I had, because I'm studying. I'm so broke. I'm barely eating. I'm eating noodles. I'm eating ramen. I'm eating red sauce because that's all I can afford. Eating all the canned goods that you could think of to just kind of get by for my startup period. And they let me work operations half the time, half the day, and the other half I would do sales. And the amount that I worked in operations, I learned the ins and outs of the broker dealer business. I understand how everything operated. I understand how broker dealers make deals with other institutions. I understand how to what are the custodians? What are all the reasons, and how does everything work? Not just from a book perspective that I can go and learn, but from really understanding that fundamentally because I lived it. And I did this for really about a year and a half. And once I knew what I knew, and I worked my way up from the 400th advisor to top 20 advisor in a 2.5 year period, I knew I had really extreme skills at doing what I was doing. I just unfortunately couldn't work out a good deal with the owners. So we parted ways amicably, and I picked up and started my own firm, started bringing on, good members, good team members, and then ended up bringing on a great mentor who is now one of my financial advisors that works here. So my advice for them is listen to that story that I just told you, and not just understand it from your expertise wise, because that doesn't necessarily separate you from everybody else. You're just going to be like everybody else. You need to find your niche, go to that, and then understand the business dynamics where you don't necessarily have to be the business forever, unless you want to be, unless it's your thing. But you can scale this thing to heights that chiro businesses just don't know that they can get to. They can get to tens of millions of dollars if they know how to scale properly.
Mm. Well, I believe, back to the chiropractic base of philosophy that I love, is that if people knew what we know, they'd do what we do. And I believe that transitions very easily over to what you do as well. If people knew what you know, they would do what you do. So that's why getting on to podcasts like this and sharing your story about how you help people and what your ethical stances are and why you do what you do, it's not only valuable for the people listening, but it's valuable for you to know why you're doing this. So I think it's really cool. We got to a lot of clarity points today, not only through the conversation of understanding the chiropractic philosophy, maybe for you greater, and for the people that are in your network. They're going to tap into Chiro Hustle and they're going to be like, what is this all about? And they're going to learn more about this beautiful profession and how they can start taking care of themselves preemptively, as you said, and health plan rather than tax plan, and have a strategy for success for them and their families to have better quality of life through having higher functioning nervous systems and higher functioning immune systems where they can stay healthy longer. And I think that a lot of what you do correlates directly into the chiropractic lifestyle, but it's a financial lifestyle. And if people knew what we know, they would do what we do. 2 pain points. What do you find is the biggest pain point for chiropractors? Their overhead or student loans?
Overhead. Yeah, definitely.
How do you help them?
It could be a lot of expenses that you guys have. However, again, you can scale your way out of it. And I think that was going to be your next question. Like, how do you overcome that? You have to scale your way out of it. And when I see you got to hire the right support staff, You have to hire the right professionals, and then have the right process or the right billing processes, and then realize that there's so many, I guess you could say, handshake services and handshake, let's say supplements or whatever vitamins, whatever your objective for your clientele is. Maybe you're, dealing with, more athlete clients, or, your clientele is maybe aging, so you're going to have different uh, um, products that for your specific clientele. But if you pick a direction, you pick a specific clientele, you can build all these support systems that are going to take the client's health and wellness to the stratosphere. You're going to be rewarded handsomely if you do that. So don't be so one-dimensional. Realize that your clientele, they need so many things that you can provide them. You need access to that information. You need access to the strategic partnerships, to know which direction that you need to go down and what products can benefit. And there's a formula out there. There's access to this information. And the great thing about the blessing that our firm has is, we have so many clients. We have, okay, we know this works for this person. We know this worked for this person. We know this definitely did not work. This was very bad. We should not do this. There's specific formulas that are just tweaked a little bit to that specific practice that take it to max capacity. So, you need access to the expert team, because your time is going to be spent on your practice. So you hire the team that has decades of experience, that's seen it, because you may, like you said, you have the knowledge of it. We have the knowledge. But you can never know what I know. It's not possible unless you've spent decades doing what I've been doing, unless you've had the experiences what I've experienced. And other financial advisors, I don't even compete with them. I don't even consider other financial advisors my competition, because they're not. Because we don't do that. We do high-level, sophisticated tax plans that require a financial advisor, that require a tax attorney, that require a CPA, that requires other commercial real estate professionals, that all handshake together and understand the entire dynamics in order to do the best job they can for the Chiro business and the Chiro family.
Well, I think it's really inspiring what you're doing. I think you should continuously figure out how to help more people and how to implement these systems and frameworks and strategies for all the mom and pop chiropractors out there, because that's what they are. Unless they're a franchise, they're small businesses. And I know the stats, at least from a couple of years ago, that small businesses fail 50% within the first 5 years, which is kind of a nightmare, thinking about that coming from the perspective of a healing art and a professional group like chiropractors. We don't have the margins, as you were saying earlier, or the bandwidth to churn and lose practitioners of this beautiful profession. We need all of them out there serving and being busy with their hands and helping more people with their services that they provide. So I think it's really important for people to find out that clarity of how important they really are and what their margins are. And as a profession, we don't have the margins to lose 50% of the chiropractors in a 5-year span, because the people need chiropractic in their lives, and we need them to be financially secure to where they don't quit doing what their sole genius is, which is going out there, checking, detecting, and correcting vertebral subluxations and adjusting the world. So I think it's really important for people to have the financial literacy so that they can continuously do that one thing that they were born to do, is go out there and save people's lives with chiropractic. So, Jake, I appreciate you being on with me today, man. I appreciate you sharing so much about your strategies and your businesses and how you got to where you are today and how you're making an impact for the chiropractic community. I'm sure people are going to be curious how they can work with you. Where do we send them to?
You can go to our website at Ackerman, that's ACKERMAN, that's in financialgroup.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the page. You can fill out that form to contact us. You can also send it to the email info@ackermanfg.com. And then finally, just give us a call. Our wonderful staff here will get you scheduled with a free consultation, and we can find out. I usually can give you some kind of quick estimate just based on a few things that you're doing in a 2-minute conversation, letting you know, hey, should I continue this further? Or, maybe we're just not there yet. We should focus in on this. So we're here, we're available for you. And we do, again, offer a one-on-one consultation with myself or one of my other tax planning professionals here.
Well, Jake, I appreciate you adding the resources to where people can reach out to you and how they can connect with you and how they can work with you. And it's AckermanFG.com, correct?
Got it. AckermanFG.com.
Go take the free offer, guys. As I say, nothing in this world is free, but it might save you a lot of money in the long run. I tell people that don't work with me every time they lose $30,000. So what is it costing you not to work with Jake? And I
100 plus thousand. Don't leave that $100,000 on the table.
Every time you don't call Jake, you lose $100,000. So keep that as an approach to taking action today. And I close out every episode by telling people you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now. Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, James.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.